Good evening, Coach Ian B. And I promised you that I was going to do a summary of what we covered in our live session. So here it is. And what I'm going to do is to help you look forward for 10 years, because Tony Robbins says that we overestimate what we can do in a year and we underestimate what we can do in a decade. So I want you to look forward 10 years, and then I want us to really take time to plan the next 90 days, to plan the next quarter, to ensure that you are as effective as you can be so you can build momentum over the next 90 days. So let me first give you some context for 10 years. So what I want you to do is to think about how you want to show up in 2030. I want you to think about what you want your life to be like. And the easiest way to do that in terms of just a summary is to think about, first of all, what a day in the week will be like. What do you want a day in the week to be like for you in 2030? So for example, where do you go to work? How do you get up? Who do you get up with? What happens? Where do you live? And then you think about a weekend. What do you do on the weekend? Who do you hang out with? What is your life like? What do you do during the weekend? So it gives you a context of what you want your life to be like in the next 10 years. So take some time and write a sentence and to document, first of all, a day in the week and then a day on the weekend. All right? So that's how you show up in the next 10 years. All right, let's focus now on this year. Let's focus on how do we create a plan for the next 12 months, and then we're going to come back to figure out what we need to do for the next 90 days. But before I do that, I want to give you a framework. Now, during the live session, we spend a lot of time helping you work through each of the individual steps. This is a summary, so it's not going to be, the hour and a half we took to work through it, because it was more of a workshop session and a planning session, and we're going to do more of that over the next few months. But what I want to do is to give you the framework that we use in the goal achievement formula to be able to create goals for yourself, goals for your life. So what I want to walk you through is just kind of stay with me on the board, and I'm going to walk you through the framework for setting your goals, the things that you should consider when you set your goals. Now, the framework we use in the goal achievement formula is, first thing I want you to think about is you. So I'm going to put you at the center. Now, some people think that's a bit selfish, but here's the thing that you must remember. If you are not okay, or you're not all right, and things are not okay with you, you can't help anybody to be okay. You can't help other people if you are not in a good place. So you want to look at you, and we'll come back to breaking that up in a little while. Then we want to look at your relationships. So you, then your relationships. Then I want you to think about your money. Right? So you, your relationships, your money. And I want you to think about your career. And then the fourth thing is about your business. So there's some of you not in business, so that would not apply. But for all of us, you would have ourselves, our relationships, our money. And if we have a career, and you may be thinking, maybe I'm retired. But the reality is that you're still alive, you're still breathing, you're still vertical. And once we're still alive, there's stuff for us to do. Do you have a hobby, a passion? What are you going to do the rest of your life? So you really want to think about that. If you think about career, you can think about your life. So let's break that down a little bit more in terms of the framework, in terms of setting your goals. So if I take you, I want you to think about you in context of your body. I want you to think about in context of your soul, and I'll explain that in a little while. And I want you to think about in context of your spirit. Okay? So you in terms of your body, your soul, your spirit. We will come back to that again. Think about your relationships. And I want you to think about your relationships in context to your spouse or partner, your children, if you have any, your extended family. I want you to think about your inner circle. If you have people who are close to you, you can think of your team. You can think about your community and church. Okay, so again, the relationships that matter in your life. It's important because, many times we achieve success in other areas of our lives. However, we don't have the relationships that matter, and we don't have people to enjoy the success with, to enjoy what we actually earn. So it's important to look at relationships. And in terms of money, I want you to think about it in the context of your revenue streams or income streams, or just income. I want you to think about cash flow, and I want you to think about assets. Okay? So in terms of money, I want you to look at your income, I want you to look at your cash flow, and I want you to look at your assets. Let's look at career. So in terms of career, I want you to think about your ideal role or your ideal job, right? So the job title. I want you to think about the context of the functions of that job. Right? So the job, the actual title of the job, the functions of that job. I want you to think about also the context of the culture. Right? So the culture in terms of the type of culture you want to function within. So if you're in an organization, the type of organization you want to work in, how you want the kind of behavior and attitudes and culture and values in that organization. And then I want you to think of compensation. Okay? So career, role or job, culture, functions, compensation. Okay. In terms of business, I want you to look at business in terms of a few things. One, in terms of people. Two, in terms of product. Three, in terms of process. All right? So people, product, process. And then I want you to think of technology. Okay? So people, product, process. I'm forgetting a P, I'll come back to that in a little while. I'm forgetting a P. So let's run through the framework again. So you want to think of your body. Now, one of the things about us, we need to think about, when we think of our body, let me get another color. I think that will help. Let me use red. So if we look at our body, we want to think of a couple of things in terms of, one, we want to think of exercise. We want to think of nutrition. We want to think of rest, relaxation, and recuperation. Okay, so I'm gonna bring that in here. Okay, so your physical body. In terms of your soul, I'm gonna break that out here. We want to think of, we tend to use the acronym ASK, A-S-K. Your soul is really your mind, your emotions. Your soul is really about your thinking, your mind, your mindset, your perspective. So you want to think of, if I use ASK as an acronym, we want to think of your attitude, you want to think of your skills, and you want to think of knowledge. So if you're thinking about goals in terms of your soul, you want to be looking at what are the attitudes or behaviors that you want to develop, improve on. You want to think about what skills, and then you want to think about the knowledge or the things you need to learn. The way to look at the distinction between skills and knowledge is, I may know what to do, but I may not know how to do it. So for example, I may study the mechanics, the theory of a particular thing. It could be marketing, it could be sports, it could be medicine, it could be law, it could be anything. It could be, psychology. It could be, I could actually study how to build a house. I could study how to mix concrete. And I could give you a story about that going back a few years when I was just before I got married. A gentleman told me that you mix 2 sand to 1 cement, and or bag of cement to 2 bags of sand. And I didn't have the knowledge, so I was physically able to mix the sand and the cement together. But because I did not have the knowledge, in actual fact, that mixture was so rich it was white. And I wasted quite a bit of cement because in actual fact I should have used many more bags of sand to 1 bag of cement. So the important thing is you want to look at skills and knowledge. And I was chatting with a client today, and we were talking about books, and we were speaking about reading. And one of the things I said to the client is that while you acquire knowledge in terms of the books that you read, I also want you to apply the principles so you build skill. Because knowledge without skill really is not as effective, because it is important that when you know something, you're able to apply it and know what to do with it. So we look at that. And then your spirit is obviously your relationship with the creator. For me, God, I don't know what you believe in, but I believe that there's a God as a creator. So my relationship with him, spending time with him, reading the scripture, meditating on the scripture. So that to me. So if I think about you or me, I want you to think about your body, your physical being, exercise, nutrition, rest, relaxation, recuperation. I want you to think about your soul, your mindset, your perspective, your attitude, your behaviors, your skills, and your knowledge. I want you to then think about your relationships, the important relationships in your life. Your spouse or partner, your children, extended family, inner circle, team, community, church. I want you to think about your money. So you think about income streams, you think about cash flow, you think about assets. And then we think about your career. You think about the role or the job that you want in terms of the time period. You think about the culture of the organization you want to work in. You think about the functions of that job, and you think about how much you want to get paid or the compensation for that role. And then in terms of your business, you want to think about people, you want to think about product, you want to think about process, and the fourth P that I forgot was actually profit. Okay, and then you want to think about technology, which is the enabler. All right. So what I'm giving to you is a framework. It's a framework so that you can set goals around these key areas of your life, the key areas that matter in your life. Now, you can't set goals around all of these things because it's just going to overwhelm you. So what I want you to do is to take some time and pick 5 areas. Pick 5 key areas you really want to focus on this year. And then use those areas to set goals for yourself over the next 12 months.